Welcome to our second DJ and Vish after show. DJ, how's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going good. Busy college football weekend and the Miami Hurricanes victory. I can't ask for much more than that.
Yes, stress-free victories against ranked teams are always nice. Although you and I feel have paid our dues with standing in the paint on that Middle Tennessee post-game show. So
Yes, not to mention Syracuse last year.
Yeah. Much like the program, we went through it, and we're reaping the rewards of having to deal.
I'm not used to this, easy feeling, this happy feeling on post-game shows. So it's nice.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's been fun. Before we get into it, let's get a word from our sponsor, which is 305-800-PAIN. After an accident, every minute counts. With one call to 305-800-PAIN, you get immediate access to trusted doctors and attorneys who guide you step by step. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, they're a brand you can trust. Much like 5 Reasons Cane's, 305-800-PAIN is focused on the local community of Miami-Dade County in South Florida. They'll handle all your accident needs, including car accidents, personal injuries, and related legal matters. So after an accident, be sure to call 305-800-PAIN. The number is in the brand, 305-800-PAIN. Después de un accidente, cada minuto cuenta. Con una llamada a 305-800-PAIN, ustedes pueden obtener acceso inmediatamente a doctores y abogados para ayudar con todo el proceso. Con una clasificación de A+ del Better Business Bureau, pueden confiar en ellos. 305-800-PAIN tiene mucho en común con los 5 razones Canes. Están enfocados en la comunidad local de Miami-Dade County y el Florida del Sur. Ellos pueden ayudar con todo después de un accidente, incluyendo accidentes de carro, lesiones personales y otras cosas legales relacionadas. Entonces, después de un accidente, llama 305-800-PAIN. El número es el nombre de la marca, 305-800-PAIN. All right, definitely give a shout out to our sponsor there. If you are in an accident, give them a call. DJ, I don't know if I feel like half of USF's team might need to be calling 305-800-PAIN after the beating they took last night. It was a physical, dominating performance for the Canes. What were your initial impressions of the game?
There may have been a lightning delay, but there was no delay of scoring points following the delay itself. So that was good to see. My initial reactions are that Mark Fletcher, he's having a great year. And you're seeing the running game incorporated more into this offense than last year. And I think that's a really, really good thing. I know me and you were screaming about it last season. Run the ball. Well, they are running the ball. And Mark Fletcher ran like a man on a mission on Saturday.
He did, and he's been doing that, to your point. I don't want to – actually, if you recall, this actually makes more sense now. I'm talking it through in my head. He got injured in the offseason last year. He played through it. He played the whole year, but I think him healthy is just another level. He's showing the speed, the agility, and the power all in one. He's a complete back, and it's showing. That touchdown run, the first one, he had a couple. Actually, both of them kind of, especially the first one, though, showed all of that in one play.
Yeah.
Got through the whole juke someone in the open field and then powered through several tacklers into the end zone. Just kind of showed the complete package there. I totally agree. He is elevated to another level now. He's one of the better running backs in the country, period. Like he's shown it day in, day out.
And I thought the backs did good in pass protection as well for Carson Beck. I think, there were a couple plays where I saw them pick up the block immediately, and even that, couple extra seconds gave Carson Beck time to find his targets. So they did a really nice job in pass protection too.
Yep. So let's we'll get the stat sheet open here and kind of walk through some of what we saw. The Canes got the ball first and took it down, scored, and felt like that kind of did it. Let me actually see if I can do a little zoom here and just maybe be a little bit clearer.
Yeah,
that's probably easier to read for everyone out there. So obviously Carson Beck. We'll talk a little bit about the 2 picks he threw, which were only the 2 of his 5 incompletions. So highly efficient again. I do want to talk about Joshua Moore though. He had a breakout game. He's someone we talked a lot about in camp. Everyone says he's going to make a big impact with JoJo still not available. He stepped up completely. 2 touchdown catches. They had trouble covering him. Really impressed with him.
Yeah, definitely. And when you look at, we thought that obviously Keelan Marion and Malachi Tony, they've been performing well, but then when you add somebody like Moore into the mix who can also play at a high level, that just gives you more weapons to work with and more mismatches for the defense. And it's great to see when you have a solid quarterback who is playing well and can get these receivers involved. That makes a world of difference.
Yeah, and one of the things you really see Carson Beck go, like you said, he's a mature quarterback, and it kind of leaps out at you as you watch him play. Just like things that you kind of expect, but don't always get, especially in college football, like looking the safeties off. Like you can see right off the snap, okay, there's single coverage on the outside, he's going to go deep, but he doesn't just throw it out there. He's staring at the middle, like on the opposite side, to get the safety out of position, make sure he can't get over and help.
Very
You can see,
calculated.
yeah, you can see him go through his progressions. Like he's not just he doesn't lock in on one receiver.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important that obviously CJ Daniels got a little banged up. We'll have to see. I think he's okay. Didn't look like it was too serious. They probably just held him out for a precaution after that. But like you said, getting Keelan Marion, Malachi Tony, Josh Moore, kind of more into the game. Tony Johnson had a couple of catches, one long one after kind of towards the end of the game. But I mean, having that depth is important when you have a quarterback that's going to go through his progressions, like you said. He's going to need to get, when he gets to that third and fourth option, they need to be able to also make plays, and they're doing it so far.
And the running backs are making plays in the passing game as well. I mean, I know only 2 catches for Mark Fletcher and a catch for Shamar Brown, but when you add the running backs to it and what they can do, that just adds another element to the offense. And I mean, you look at the average yards per catch, 14.8. I mean, that's a first down and then some, almost every single catch. So that just kind of orchestrates how explosive this offense can be.
Yeah, and then also to your point, even though the numbers don't necessarily leap out at you from the right, one of them was a touchdown. That's what Marty Brown caught, that touchdown pass. And then
Yep.
And then also, I think one thing that, part of this is the red zone offense is so diverse. I think last year we didn't always, score touchdowns when we needed to or finish drives when we needed to. I mean, obviously everything was a touchdown and kick a field goal, 7 touchdowns today. But you're seeing that in this game, they were keying more on the running backs down there. So Carson Beck was able to keep it on the read option a few times and scored that touchdown and got down to the 1 on the next possession. So he was able to make some plays with his legs as well. So just kind of a well-rounded offensive performance out of this team. You can look at the running game. Obviously, we talked about Mark Fletcher already. The rest of the backs got gummed up a little bit, but again, it was a weird game, as you said. The lightning delay did. I know the Canes came out and continued to dominate after that. It was, I think, 21-6, I want to say, during the lightning delay, and then it ended up 49-12. So not much of a difference, but the game had a different feel. It was like energy-wise from both teams. Like this didn't like single impact the Canes. It was kind of both teams just kind of felt like, and like when they came out. So, the game kicked off and it took about 30 seconds to realize that this was a complete mismatch. And so then you have a long delay after everyone's kind of realized that and the score is reflecting that. And it's hard to like crank the energy back up. And it did feel a little bit like parts of the game where both the coaches trying to just get the game over with.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say I did have that feel like, both teams just wanted to get the game over with. Both teams just wanted to get out of the game without any injuries. That type of feel to it, and it did kind of slow things down. It kind of slowed things down for me as a fan too. Watching on TV, I was all fired up, and then I had to wait like half hour, and then the game started again. It was very oddly paced game because of the delay.
Yeah, no, it definitely was, and I think the other thing is because it was in the second quarter, after a long delay, you come out play like, was it like 10 minutes of football, and then it's like back to halftime, and it was just like, it was so stop-start. It was a very odd, that definitely, I think, impacted the energy level of both teams. ultimately it didn't really impact the way the game went at all, I don't think. But it was just an odd thing for them to deal with. Which there was definitely some flat play in the third quarter, I think,
Yeah.
from both teams where they were kind of just almost pillow fighting.
Yeah.
Just move the ball a little bit, punt, move the ball a little bit, punt. It didn't really feel like much else was going on there. It was 28-6 at the time, and then the Canes kind of cranked it back up a little bit and fully put the game away.
Yeah, that was where it kind of felt like it was a little bit sluggish, and kind of both teams were just trying to trade blows like a pillow fight, like you said. And it was good to see the Canes put the game away, though. I mean, that's not something, even last year they struggled to put the game away at times. So now they're learning how to.
Don't we know it? You mentioned Syracuse.
Yeah, Syracuse, and even Cal, even though we won, I mean, they struggle with Cal, and it's good to see them, learn how to put games away, and that can only help for later in the season.
No, for sure. The less, and I know we're talking about how the Canes, they took control early, and this game was never really in doubt after that. The more of those you have, and the less of the less of the pressure games and pressure moments you have late in the game, the better off you are. Those are mentally and physically taxing. They wear you down over the course of 12 games. I think that happened last year because, like you said, it wasn't just Cal, it was Virginia Tech. There were several of those. Okay, Louisville. We were winning these games, but man, they were taking. Well, Georgia Tech's when it caught up with us, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have to play, have the big comeback against Cal, have to fight Virginia Tech to literally the last replay of the game.
Yeah.
Louisville was a 1 touchdown game where the Canes had to kneel it out at the end after recovering an onside kick to end the game. Like all of those high pressure. This is a long season. They take their toll on a team, and then you get to Georgia Tech, and you just eventually the ball doesn't bounce your way. So And that happens, and it wears you out over the course of the season. I think by the end of it, having to do that so many times wears you out. And obviously Notre Dame was a tight game down to the finish, but it's good that, took care of business here and didn't end up in a dogfight. That, again, all that stuff just wears your team down.
Yeah, and, as Clemson found out yesterday, Georgia Tech can be quite the thorn in the side.
Yeah, we might be seeing them in the future, even though they're not on the schedule. But so they look like a really, really good team. And I think just going back to the line a little bit, I think the reason the third quarters where we saw it was sluggish is the players are used to playing, an extended period of football, having a break, and then playing the second extended period with the break being halftime. It was almost like having an extended halftime in the middle of the second quarter, and then having the second halftime, I think, is what really kind of deflated both teams a little bit. But the Canes came through easily. All right, other side of the ball, the defense. What did you think of that performance?
I thought the defense was pretty good. I mean, they had trouble with Nimrod, as we see, and but I thought overall it was good. I thought they were able to get to Brown. I mean, now granted, Brown did have a decent day passing, but I think that they still showed that they were physical. They still showed that they could cover at a high level, and they still were able to get the job done. Obviously, you'd like to see a little bit more cleaned up, but I think at the end of the day, Brown was a good athlete and he's a decent quarterback. So, I mean, like I always say, these are all Division I, college football players. There are going to be skill to be had, whether you play an easy team week 1 or a team that you should beat. These are quality players. So overall, I thought the defense played well. I think the defense is starting to forge an identity, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, as you said, Nimrod had he had 53 yards on one play, which is where kind of a lot of his yards came up. I think there's some stuff to clean up, just on the back end. Couple of third and longs where you give up chunk plays, and obviously they'll look at that film and work on that. But overall job done. I think you'd say probably a little bit more yards than they wanted to concede, but it was a weird one. like energy level wise. In those critical plays, the Canes were generally really strong. As you said, Brown is a big threat with his legs, and
Yep.
just completely took that part of the game away from USF. Took their entire running game away, dominated the line of scrimmage, and then did probably give up a few more explosive plays than you'd like. Even the touchdown, it's third down and what was it, like 12 or 13 or whatever from like, and they throw a little bubble screen, get a touchdown. Like, I don't think the coaches
We
will be
have
happy
trouble
with
with
that.
those bubble screens. We
Well,
really
I don't
do.
know. Well, we were playing super aggressive on that. We were in man, and they blocked it well. But I think the coaches will have a lot of issues giving up a touchdown in that situation. You should be forcing a field goal. So I think there's some stuff to clean up there. And again, they hit a couple of third downs that were for explosive plays, not just converting them. That I think the coaches will want to clean up, and that's where a lot of the yardage came from. As I said, that if you look down the long column on the passes, I mean, the top three receivers, just looking at that's more than 100 yards just on 3 catches. So like, there's a few plays here or there that if they clean up, there's 100 less yards for USF. So I think that's where they'll look to try and clean up some of those chunk plays.
Chaz Nimrod and Wyatt Sullivan are so good in my NCAA 26 dynasty. So it's interesting that
you had the respect for him before. So
I did have a little bit of respect for him, but shout out to Bryce Fitzgerald for the pick. That was a great interception, and we've talked about him quite a bit this season, and he continues to play at a really high level, and he made that great interception there, and I thought that was a really key play, just showing how much of a ball hawk he is in the best way possible.
Yeah, no, he stepped up and earned more playing time, and then a lot of great plays from the defense. I thought Ruben Bain had a fantastic game. He was really disruptive, just taking on multiple blockers. And what if you're watching at home and wondering, like, why does USF keep running right into the teeth of this defense? As we said, they're a run first offense actually normally, but also, like, formationally, it was the play. There was the fourth down where they were driving, and they went for it and got stuffed. It's 4th and 2 on like the 5-yard line. They motion the back out of the backfield. Linebacker follows him, so it's emptied out. I mean, the play is to run the quarterback draw. The problem is Ruben Bain's on the other side. Collapses half the offensive line. The play's dead. I mean, that's what happened. I mean, that is the play. You got hat on hat. You just need 2 yards. But you can't account for Ruben Bain being that good at football, and he just blew the whole play up, and that was that. Like, I mean, that's kind of how the game went. I think USF repeatedly probably got the looks they wanted to run those draw plays and those quarterback off tackle plays, and then their offensive line just overwhelmed by the Canes defensive line play after play after play, and that's ultimately just why they couldn't get their running game going.
And it's really, really tough to call plays inside the red zone, especially when you're facing a top-notch defense. And so they had limited options to begin with, and then you have Ruben Bain greeting you on the other side. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Yep. And shout out to Jacoby Thomas, I believe, had the big hit that forced the fumble. That I believe was also on a 4th down that they were scrambling for it. Trying to get to or it might be a 3rd down. It was in the 3rd quarter. I want to say they were scrambling for Brown was trying to scramble for a 1st down. Jacoby Thomas, perfect hit right on the ball, popped up. I think Chase Smith is who fell on it. So the team swarms and hits, and that's apparent. And I think at some point, that takes a toll on the other team's offense. And they got to a point where, like, the USF players didn't want to get hit anymore. That's when you start seeing the drops, and just in your head, you're like, I don't want to get popped again. This game's not even competitive, so
I can't blame them either.
And so that physicality is paying off big time. The Canes hit, and that is very apparent in person. You see the physicality and they play to contact. They want that contact, and I actually think that's probably why we're seeing a little bit too much of the explosives given out, because everyone's swarming to the ball, and then if there's misdirection, or a few times this year, including in this game, the quarterback escapes the pocket and makes a throw on the run. You can a little bit of over pursuit there, not kind of staying home. So again, they'll get that cleaned up. I'm not really worried about it, but the defensive front especially just ate USF's lunch, and that was that.
they're playing to their potential so far this year, and this is something that we struggled with last year. And I think Heatherman has done a good job of getting the most out of that unit. And I've talked about before how with his old Minnesota defenses, they would always have a solid front and then a solid secondary, a very physical front and also a very physical secondary. And we're seeing that identity transfer over to the ACC and with the Hurricanes.
Yeah, no, and Mesidor actually talked about this in the the preseason when he was doing media availability about how the defense just allows them to just play their assignments. He's like, it's simple, so we can play fast. He puts us in the right position for our strengths, and you can kind of see that. You can see how much more comfortable everyone is, because I mean, you could tell this is Dave Mackey in a couple of years, and for Bain and Mesidor, that these are fantastic players. And last year it didn't really show, and now it shows, and that is a testament to both to not just them, the entire defense line working really hard in the offseason. They all look in better shape. They're not only leaner and they're also stronger at the same time. And that you see all of that, but also just the coaches putting them in a position to succeed. Like they prepared, and you can also see it if you watch the press conferences, the post game, and all. You can tell the work was put in throughout the off season by the coaches, by the players, to get to the point where they're expecting to show up and just dominate the opponent because they've earned the right to do that.
Right.
And that you can tell even the kind of the way they don't say that out loud. But you can tell the way they they weren't surprised at all by this. Like they expected to go up there, shove USF's offensive line around and dominate up front. They did that.
Well, I think Heatherman's a great motivator too, right? He has a ton of energy. You see him bouncing around on the sidelines, and I think that feeds off to the players as well. And I think having a high energy coach like that definitely makes a difference. And then as you stack these good games together against some really quality opponents, and you win. That breeds a culture of expecting to win and having confidence in yourself. And I think at times last year, the defense just didn't have that. And now we're seeing, that and, players really being comfortable about where they are on the field and what they can do. And, I think at times last year, the defensive line disappeared and, we saw miscommunication and things like that. I think the unit is very much on the same page this year.
Yeah, and I think part of it's also just taking responsibility. I feel like last year, everyone, to a certain extent, just we did have a bit of a savior complex with Cam Ward, where everyone kind of felt like, well, he'll pick us up.
Yeah.
And he did almost every time, but that'll catch up with you eventually. I think everyone is much more focused on being part of the reason the team wins versus being on the team while Cam wins the game. And you can kind of see that everyone's taking responsibility for their own play.
Yeah, for sure. And it's hard not to have that savior complex, right? When you watch Cam and what he was able to do. But now, and Carson is putting up great numbers too. But now it's more of like, okay, we have to be involved in the game. We have to step up and make a play for Carson. We have to make sure that we can get through the offensive line and get in the backfield. It's not just watching, it's also, being actively involved throughout the game in all four quarters.
Yeah, and the other thing is with blowout wins like this, you mentioned all four quarters, able to empty the bench. We were talking last weekend at this time that Bethune might be the last time you're able to kind of get a lot of these younger players action, except for under injury circumstances, and that was not true because this game was just as easy as that one, and so that's gonna really pay off because a lot of guys got some action against a better quality opponent. Like, what's one thing getting out there against Bethune? It's a whole different animal here, and so getting that action, getting a lot of these guys some play, you can see like the stat sheet. And how many players played and participated, and getting all those guys on the field, all of that's going to pay off. down the road. Now they got some really good live game experience against a ranked team. And so again, blowing those teams out, allowing the backups to get that experience, all that's going to pay off down the road.
We're at the point now where we're building a program and we're allowed to do that and can do that, and and be comfortable about it and get these guys snaps for when some of these playmakers graduate to continue the pipeline on the defensive line or in the linebacker room or in the secondary. So it's all part of building the program. And for the last couple of years, we didn't have enough depth. Now we're starting to see that depth come into play, and you can now get these guys snaps and continue to build.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's where you kind of see the year to year competing versus just a one-off season, and that's what they're building towards.
Yeah, for sure.
Good morning, Lord Bakington III.
Good morning. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so we've kind of talked all the positives. And obviously, as we should, it's a 37-point win over a top 20 team. So like this is the good stuff. But there probably were some things that the Canes could work on coming out of this game. What were your thoughts, TJ? What do you think they need to address kind of in the week off preparing for UF?
I want to see a bit more pressure from the defensive line to get those sack numbers up. I thought the defensive line played really well, especially defending the run, but I'd love to see them rush the passer a little bit more. And this is something that I've kind of wanted them to do over the last couple of weeks. I don't think it's a glaring thing because Reuben Bain can eat entire offensive lines by himself and make plays and blow them up. But I would like to see a little bit more pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see when we play teams that maybe don't, and there actually aren't that many, to be honest, that don't have a run threat at quarterback. I think in this game in particular, the first job was take away their quarterback run plays. Yeah. So you're not going to just press into the backfield. And I think they did an excellent job of that. So I think that's why you're kind of seeing the sack numbers, to your point, aren't really, do not reflect the way the defense is dominating and the defensive line is dominating.
CJ Clark could run a little bit.
Yeah. So, and then obviously next week with Logway, week after that with Castellanos. So there's the next couple of games you're gonna have to be dealing with that, and probably, I mean, Logway, you want him to kind of get the pass off the way he's throwing the football, but we'll talk about that on the 6-Ring Case show tomorrow night at 8:30. But so yeah, maybe let that man throw. But
keep him in the pocket.
Yeah, but I think when they get those, into those situations, in the back half of the season, they're playing a little bit more of those. Louisville and Syracuse have quarterbacks that aren't really mobile. Pitt, there'll be a lot of opportunities to kind of tee off on the quarterback and kind of a little bit more, just pass rush only situations versus these ones. I think they're still having to worry about their run, so you got to be a little bit more hesitant. But yeah, no, I could see that for sure. Again, I talked about this earlier. Some of the chunk plays, and especially in the long yardage situations, you got to clean that up. Third and medium to third and long, you can't be giving up like 30-yard completions, 40-yard completions in those chunk plays. But defense's credit, they were tough. When you have hit those plays, they largely held them after that, other than the one play you mentioned earlier where they kind of hit the bubble screen in the goal line situation. But
yeah, they struggle with those bubble screens.
Yeah, and then the other thing Lord Bakington mentioned was Beck's interceptions. Yeah. So we didn't really dig into that. We mentioned he threw 2 picks, but what were your thoughts on the 2 picks?
I mean, I don't think they were necessarily his fault, but he is this is one of my biggest worries about him coming in this season. He is prone to throw interceptions sometimes, but I don't think it's going to be a reoccurring thing. I think, that was a credit to the USF defense, and it's something to watch because, like I said, he can, throw interceptions sometimes, but by and large, it didn't affect the overall outcome of the game. If it's a 23-20 game and he throws 2 interceptions, then maybe I'll complain a little bit more. But I mean, he is known to throw interceptions. I mean, he did at Georgia, even still, very minimal. And so, I mean, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, and so the first one they ran a stunt and got in on him, and I don't think he saw the it was the defensive tackle who stunted around and came around the
Yeah.
edge. I don't think he saw him. I think
No.
he got hit as he was throwing it, if I recall, and it kind of fluttered. The second one, he tried to fit it in to a window to Malachi Tony and missed high a little bit, and it got tipped up in the air and intercepted. Those things happen. And yeah, to Lord Baconton's point, he just played through it. 20, and those were he threw 5 balls that were not caught by Canes receivers in total,
Yeah.
and that was 2 of them. So really strong game anyway. And if you prorate his interceptions so far, I mean, he's going to throw 8 this year. That's not anything to really be concerned about. So yeah, no, I'm not concerned at all, and I think it's. I mean, what the first one's just flatly, he just didn't see the rusher coming around and got a hit.
Yeah.
The second one,
blocked.
yeah, he tried to squeeze in the window. He probably shouldn't have, but then you don't want you'd rather your quarterback try to make those plays, just because otherwise you don't make any plays, right? Because
And he can make those plays. We've seen that.
Yeah. So I'd rather him throw that pass than not throw it. So yeah, if he could have kept the ball down a little bit more, he would have dropped it right in the window, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I think it was the right read, slightly off target, but that's fine. That happens. You want him to make those throws, and Lord Baconton's point, like he kept making those throws after that. So
Yeah,
that's
for
what
sure.
you want. That's what you want. Yeah,
I mean, that's a sign of a polished quarterback. Throw some interceptions, but bounce right back and continue to play at a high level. I mean, that's the other thing I like about him, and we talked about this on the Sixth Ring, is that he's so calm and poised in the pocket that it doesn't seem like much bothers him, and he carries that kind of demeanor with him, and he's very calm and relaxed, and I think it gives the rest of the team confidence too.
Yeah, and exactly. The whole team is carrying themselves in that manner. I think they expect good things to happen. They've worked for it. They're playing well, and I think that is obvious when they're when they're out there. I don't think this team gets phased, because they're kind of just believe in what they believe in the scheme. They believe in what they've been taught. They believe in the work they put in, and that's why they kind of just go with it. When if you have a bad play, make the next one. And I think we're seeing that not just from him, but from the entire team. But to your point, he's the leader of the team, and one of the reasons the whole team can carry themselves like that is because they trust the quarterback.
Right.
And you can tell this team loves playing for him and with him, and all of that is coming together nicely.
Yeah, and it's another thing too with those 2 interceptions. We're no longer at the point where every possession is a live or die possession because we have a lack of playmakers. It's more, okay, we have 2 interceptions, but I still have Malachi Tony and Daniels and the running backs and Fletcher and Brown. So you have confidence that you'll be able to score on every drive because of these guys, because of these playmakers. And that's something, even last year at times with the offense, you weren't sure what you were going to get, but now you have a well-balanced mix of players that can pick you up on the next drive and quickly get some points.
Yeah, and as a post comment up there on the receiver room, yeah, I mean, now we saw Josh Moore, as you mentioned earlier, step up big time as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, this does, we lost the top 3 receivers from last year, and this room appears to frankly be better.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
There was not a lot of experience coming in, so we were concerned about it, but we knew that there was talent there. We'd mentioned guys like Josh Moore were flashing in camp, and expected big things from them. Blue saw Malachi Tony play a lot in high school and was like, this kid is the real deal. He's your generational player that everyone's been asking for, and all of that has shown up. CJ Daniels had a rough last year, but was someone that Mario tried to get when he went to LSU. So he's someone that's made plays on this level. Tony Johnson finally got some action. He's made plays on this level. So it was kind of, you could see in the offseason, like the pieces were there if they fit right for this to be a really good room, and they're fitting right. And yeah, we still haven't seen anything. I don't know what's going on with JoJo.
Yeah, I don't either.
He was injured in the first game. He was supposed to be back. I mean, feels like our annual "can we really trust the injury report"
Yeah.
discussion. But so we'll see. We'll see when he gets back out there. But it's good to see that depth behind him and see all these other guys stepping up. Where it's just like, all right, next man up, get out there. Because again, CJ Daniels got banged up in this game, and we didn't miss a beat.
For sure. And last year's wide receiving group was special because of the numbers they were able to put up and what they were able to do. I feel like this year's group of wide receivers is more athletic and more explosive. And that could be because of the type of quarterback Carson Beck is, where he could throw a ball and just lead his receivers and do that. But I feel like this group is a little bit more explosive than last year's group, and last year's group obviously was one of the best in team history. So that's saying a lot.
Yeah, the other thing that this year's group is doing at a really high level is blocking.
Yeah.
When you look at when Mark Fletcher's on that long touchdown run, you see him making the juking the guy and then running over guys into the end zone, but
right.
Also watch the receivers hold their blocks that entire time. So
yeah,
that all allows that turns those 10, 15-yard plays into touchdowns.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that a lot from those players.
Yeah, to be a good wide receiver in college football, you also need to block. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, you need to block. And they've been doing that at a high level, and it just goes back to taking care of the little things and taking care of business in the dirty areas, the gritty areas that may not show up on the stat sheet. And I think they've done that well, from running routes right, say that 10 times fast, to trying to make the tough catches in between two defenders. They're taking care of the little things like they should be, and that's not something that we've seen from Hurricanes teams in recent memory either.
Yeah. Absolutely, making the plays that are there to be made is a skill that people don't focus on a lot, and it's what you got to do, especially against an overmatched opponent like USF clearly was, really, from the opening kick. And I will say that I know the choice. Every coach wants to defer because, and the reason they do that is mathematically, you can get kind of an extra possession out of it, and kind of have the one extra. Essentially, obviously, the ball goes back and forth, barring turnovers or an onside kick. So theoretically, both teams will have the same number of possessions over a game. But if you receive the ball to start the second half and you get the ball second in the first half and you score right at the end of the first half, you've essentially means that in the second half you'll always have an extra possession when you have the ball. So that's why coaches defer. But I will say that the Canes receiving the kickoff immediately, just shoving it down their face and getting a touchdown, I think ended the game. I think at that point everyone's like, well, and
set the tone early.
Yeah, set the tone, and I think USF realized they were out of their depth. I think.
Yeah, it quickly made them question their number 18 ranking. But no, but I think that's something that Hurricanes teams weren't always able to do in the past either. Just set the tone early. I remember, I wish I didn't, but with that Middle Tennessee State game, we struggled to get points early, and I think there were some fumbles and things like that.
Yeah, a couple of pick sixes.
Yeah. In years past, we weren't able to set the tone early and immediately kind of set the tone for how the rest of the game was going to go. Now we're starting to do that, and we're able to do that.
Yeah, to Lord Baines. Yeah, Lyle didn't play again. He was again, banged up against Notre Dame. Was supposed to, be ready for last week actually. So again, do we trust the injury report? Yeah, no. Lofton, I believe, is carrying a bit of an injury. He didn't play a lot. We fortunately do have a bye week after Florida, so hopefully that'll get some guys some health opportunities. But yeah, we're gonna need those guys as the season progresses.
I agree with the assessment about Florida being a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, we'll be discussing that on tomorrow's Six Rings Kane show. If you didn't see the announcement, game day will be on campus this weekend. So if you head over to the Gables campus, you can watch game day on.
It's not the same without Coach Corso, but I still do like game day.
Yeah, it's not the same, but yeah, they'll be out on campus. So which is usually a pretty good showcase for school. So that's good to see. But DJ, to the point you're making about kind of this team being different, just coming out there and taking care of business. This is actually something JD Arteaga, who actually was talking to at the game yesterday during the lightning delay, but that he mentions a lot. He's the baseball coach for those who don't follow baseball. There's a difference, like, because they ask him a lot about pitch count. He's like, the pitch count's the pitch count, but like, how many high leverage pitches do you have to throw?
Yeah.
Like those pressure pitches take a much bigger toll on your arm than just you're out there throwing when it's a 10-run game. And this team is limiting the amount of pressure pitches they have to throw, and that's going to limit the wear and tear. This team needs to play 13 more games or 12 more games to win the national championship. That's a lot more football, and so the when you come out there against the top 20 team, which earned that ranking, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then you just wipe the floor with them, and it's over halfway through the first quarter. Those are pitches you don't have to throw. That are high pressure pitches you don't have to throw that other teams are having to throw. And that all of that will pay off down the road.
And, to the point of high pressure situations and, getting, banged up down the road, getting some of your younger guys in, like we were talking about earlier, that also helps too, in case you're going to need them, hopefully not because of injury, but say late November, somebody gets banged up, somebody, and, you have to find your replacement for the final 2 games of the season. And now you have these younger players who have played, early in the season, ready to go because they have that experience. That helps too, especially, I remember seeing this graphic last year where Ohio State, they won the national championship last year, and they started the season in August, right? And they didn't even finish until January. So, I mean, that's a lot of football for the champion. And so, so having that kind of depth and having the ability to, get healthy and, have, not skip a beat for a potential college football playoff run if injuries do occur is important too.
Yeah. And again, we thought Bethune was kind of the only breather. So getting another one in there, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. All right, DJ, anything else on this game as we kind of head towards wrapping up here?
No, I was very impressed with the effort. Obviously, coming back from that weather delay is not easy. And I thought, even though it was a little sluggish, they did the job. And, it's hard to find anything to complain about. They keep rolling. And sure, there are some things to clean up. But by and large, I was overall very impressed.
Yeah, I concur. I expected the game to be kind of a physical mismatch, and it was. And just because you expect it and it happens doesn't mean that it's not a great thing to see actually show up. As you said, the preparation was there all off season. It was there all week, and they executed out there on the field. It's a big win. Obviously, UF is next. We will be doing a little bit more wrap up on this game and previewing the tilt with Florida, who obviously has lost to this USF team and then lost to LSU last night. So they're coming in with a couple of losses in a row. Stay tuned to the 5 Reasons Sports Network as we continue to cover the Canes as they march towards this national championship, which is coming. Trying to make DJ uncomfortable, but he didn't react to it. All right, so we will be back tomorrow night at 8:30 for the full Six Rings Cane shows. Check us out right here on this network. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Search for 5 Reasons Canes wherever you get your podcast. You will be able to download not just this show, but the Six Rings Cane show on Monday, as well as all of our basketball and baseball coverage as well.
Basketball's coming soon.
Yeah, basketball is around the corner. We are headed into weekly shows. We're starting now for Buckets, which is our basketball show. And actually the day after Louisville, baseball scrimmages FAU at the Light. So head out there, support the baseball team. So everything is kicking off. So definitely, and we have one of the best football teams in the country. So it's a good time to be a Hurricane, good time to be with the network. So definitely follow us, 5 Reasons Canes, 6 Rings Canes show tomorrow night, 8:30. We will, as I said, wrap this up and also preview the tilt with the Gators at Hard Rock Stadium next Saturday, 7:30. Again, final score: Miami 49, USF 12. DJ, thanks for joining me this Sunday morning.
Thank you. I had a good time. I always have a good time, and it's fun when the team is winning. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely more fun than the Middle Tennessee post game.
Yep.
I also did the North Carolina post game after they ran for like 6 million yards.
Yeah, with Drake May, I believe, right? Drake May was quarterback.
God, I don't even remember. Was that
so.
him or was it Sam Howell? I don't even remember because like it was just handed to the running back and they just ran for 400 yards.
Who was the running back? Hampton? Was it Hampton?
No, it was Javonte Williams, I think.
Ah.
It was several of them. They set like a record for number. No, they seriously set a record for the number of running backs that had over 200 yards in a game. It was bad. Yeah. But you go through the dirt to come out clean on the other side, and that's what this program has done.
And hey, Williams is in the NFL now, so I mean,
yes, on the correct team. All right, so anyway, go Cowboys. And DJ, I'll talk to you tomorrow night on 6 Ring, and I'll see you next Sunday as we wrap up that game with UF.
Sounds good to me. Have a good Sunday, everybody.
Yep, have a good Sunday. Go Canes.